All right, and for those who are going to be watching this back in the future, welcome. I am Logan. I am the head of Nat19, and you're here with Laid Back Laidlaw, a thing that is currently being used, a segment that is currently being used for us to talk about the two books that Nat19 has produced and written that we kickstarted earlier this year in 2024, Lyra's Guide to Retia, and its companion book, Lyra's Guide to Risk and Reward, over 1,000 pages of lore and options, monsters, mechs, spells, classes, a bunch of new classes, subclasses, feats, new fighting style systems, etc. We're using these to talk about the contents, and this week, I wanted to take our segment to specifically talk about the base class features of the Favored Soul class that we've added, and also the Ranger, the 19th edition Ranger, which is a total overhaul of the Ranger class that we are including in the guide. Hopefully we're going to get into doing some of the subclasses as well, and we are also going to be answering some questions from people who are hanging out in the chat. There they be. If you'd like to join in on these, we'll be doing them on Mondays here at twitch.tv/nat19official. At 7 p.m. is the aimed for time. This segment will also probably be sporadically used for gaming, which will also provide a relatively safe space for asking questions, probably, unless it's a distracting game. But this week, we're doing business! Again, for those that don't know me, yes, they will be. Please refrain from asking questions that way. I won't be. Please ask. How to put this? Thank you for the sub. Please put the questions through the AMA so I can better keep track of them. However, subs are very appreciated. Let's see. I'm debating in my mind whether or not we want to start this with a few of the questions and then go into the going over the features, or if, we'll do that. So why don't we do a couple questions real quick that have been submitted by the people who backed it and the fans of Nat19 and people on our Discord and what have you. Let's say we'll do the first 5. And then we'll jump into doing the subclass features. So, question-wise, the first question is, hey, I don't know if you'll be able to answer this. I'm a bit confused. I should probably bring the book up here in the background. Give me one moment. Whoopah! Oh, I'm actually pretty close to where we'll need to be. Because we're going to need to be right here. So, the answer to my question is going to be apparent because it's actually going to be on screen. The question, which is one that has been asked a bunch of times, and I've actually already answered a whole bunch of times in different places, but that's okay because not everybody can be expected to be in all places, is from DinoDom96, and it's, hey, I'm a bit confused about how to control the Beast Mount in the Ranger subclass, since it says you can use a bonus action to act on your turn, but then you can use a bonus action for it to take another action. I just want to know what that means. Amazing book, by the way. I am going to track down. Boop, 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 boop. So, the Beast Companion, describing how it calculates its stuff, shares your initiative. If you use your bonus action to have it take an action, it may take that action immediately, then takes its turn as if it had already done so. You can move it, use its own reaction, but the only action it takes is no instruction of the dodge action. You can use... So, this is not describing two different things. This is describing the same thing twice. This is saying that you can use your bonus action to have it take any action, and then later on it is just pointing out that you can use your bonus action to command it to take another action. They are saying the same thing. They're just both saying that you can use your bonus action to have it take an action. This one is just describing that what it does if it is not taking one, and it's just adding a bit of clarification on which ones it can take. I believe that should clarify what you're saying. Hopefully that clarifies what you meant, and I'm not missing something else. Because yeah, the basic idea is on your turn, you can use your action, you can use your bonus action as a ranger. And sorry for anyone who's just tuning in, this will be a little bit out of order. You can use your bonus action as a ranger to have it take any action, and then it takes its own turn. But it... Hackin' ba-ba-da-ba-da. Can move using your action. It takes no instructions as the dodge action. Oh, I see. I see the confusion. I think. Two. Yeah, so I might actually change a bit of text to clarify that. Because I actually think where I might have worded it. That's the intention. Everything I just said is the intention. I'm just reading my own text so I don't contradict myself as I read. It can move and use its own reaction, but the only action it takes, if given no instructions, is the dodge action. You can use your bonus action to command it to take another action. Yeah, so you can use your bonus action to... You can have it take an action either immediately, or you can tell it to act on its turn. Effectively. But on its turn, it's only ever going to dodge. I might tighten that a bit. Actually, before we hit final release. Real quick. So, okay, so that's... Thanks, actually, you pointed that out. There's a bit of slightly confusing language in there that I might want to clarify. Boom! Second one. For the favorite souls, is the starting armor meant to be chainmail or a chain shirt? I'm asking because I'm building a favorite soul for an upcoming campaign. It is intended to be what it says. Which is... Chainmail, evidently. How compatible is the... Nope, don't do it, Logan. Don't do that thing you do where you notice the chat going off and you start answering questions ahead of time. Unless I'm forgetting something, it is meant to be chainmail. Although, it probably wouldn't hurt to do either. I have a PC that wants to be a burden of Eveseal favorite soul. Any advice you'd give to a DM running them? So the Burden of Eveseal is one of the elemental ones. It is effectively the wind/lightning elemental one. Where are you? My recommendation to them... A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I... Down here, where are you? There you are. My recommendation to them... I don't know if I have a lot in the way of recommendations, as long as they know what they're getting into. So... Eveseal, as a god, is effectively an embodiment of natural disasters. They're basically a living storm. So if they're going to play a favorite soul based on them, then they're probably going to want their story to be something to do with being connected to storms or natural disasters. My brain, if I was going to make one, would go to be that, all D&D characters have a tragic past. My inclination would be to go for an idea that the first thing that you can remember is your home being destroyed by a hurricane or tornado and you being the only one to survive with no one around, that sort of thing. Your origin, everything that compels you being a natural disaster, that sort of thing is what I'd go to give it a lot of flavor to what they're going to play. And then trying to connect that into the idea of being connected to Eveseal, to being connected to this thing that embodies storms. And then it depends on where you want to go from there, assuming that you don't want to make your campaign about Eveseal. Because you may or may not. If you're going to make it about Eveseal, the god, you're probably... I know that you guys only have these to go off of, so you don't have the divine, the lesser god section of the main book yet. But if you want to keep to Eveseal as a god... Oh no, because Eveseal does appear in the bestiary. So, which incidentally, did I get that exporting? I didn't. I'm going to get that going right now. Welcome to me being scatterbrained, everybody. Save. I would just have the character be someone that storms and tragedy follows around, that life is constantly uprooted around. I am a scatterbrained boy, it's true. And I would try to build everything around that. Beyond that, it's just, if you meant something more, submit another question. Eveseal's a pretty chaotic god, so I would not focus too hard on any big, like, what I need you for, I require you for a prophecy sort of thing, because it's basically just a force of nature. I would have this uncaring force that is like a living storm following them around in their life at its most important times to sort of emblematically point out that follows them, that is a core element of their life. Boom. Gonna count that as answered. SB6997, tell you what. We're gonna do this one, then the next one, which is a joke, and then we're gonna move on to actually looking at the core class features. We'll start with since we're here, the favorite soul, I guess. All right. They want me to say all the names of the burdens. I'm actually gonna take this chance to answer a question from later as well, which was, why so many burdens for favorite soul? Because there are 30 lesser gods and 12 major gods listed in the book, and I wanted there to be a wide variety of options for people to pull from for them. I wanted to represent a lot of them. My initial idea was I wanted to do the full 34. I wanted to do a full 34 for the major gods that were gone over in the book and all the lesser deities. But then I realized that I was working myself to death, and I decided to not do that. To save a bunch of those maybe for like a complete divine sort of book in the future, because the books are already huge. But that's why there's so many for them, and also because, presumably, the favorite soul is going to be taken out of the context of Retia and is going to be used in other settings, because almost no table I've ever been at just straight up adopts a setting and plays it. Like, I imagine most tablers are going to be very like, oh, it's the Forgotten Realms, or it's Greyhawk, but it is including the Retian Pantheon and what have you, or the Simonian Pantheon, which both are good terms, by the way. The Idolic Pantheon is probably a good one, although that wouldn't cover the lesser gods. So yeah, Simonian Pantheon would probably be the thing to call these guys. But, I wanted there to be a wide variety of these, so if you wanted to be like, okay, so I want to do a favorite soul of, why am I forgetting the Forgotten Realms gods? Favorite soul of one of the dead three. Then you should be able to be like, well, the Burden of Scorn fits them pretty well, so I should be able to go in there and just take Scorn out, reflavor it, be like, yeah, no, that's one of the dead three's favorite soul. I wanted there to be enough options that people could look through and relabel things as needed for their games. That's a question from later. I'll mark that as complete. All right, let's pronounce these things. So, Agris, Apophemia, Amir, Bertramit, Chan Karagosh, Echo Bliss, Gotham, Haros, Ilsrabe, Invadiva, and to all of you that want to make a graphics card joke, as everyone's been doing, it's got a meaning. NVIDIA had a meaning before that. Ivseal, Lusuria, Mortuus, Niflamor, Sanjek, Scorn, Tequin, Tithys, Vestius. And those are how you pronounce all the ones that are included in this book. Oh, didn't mean to do that. Let's turn this off. We don't need any of these fans. And by that I mean it would be convenient not to have them. And the final question is, on a scale of 10 to 100, how hot will everyone be? Probably averaging around a 95, because it's fantasy, and if something's not scary, it better be hot. All right, with that, I'd say let's begin taking a look at the base class features for the favorite soul, and talk about how they go. So the burdens are all these subclasses of the favorite soul, which they're referred to as cosmic burdens. I believe you get them at level 1. Yes, you get them right out the gate. The concept of the favorite soul is that you are somebody who is born with a connection to a deity of some nature. They are effectively, in a very odd sense, they are kind of like the warlock. They're like warlocks who have formed a similar sort of connection to an actual full god, as opposed to a being that is lesser. I'd like to... pretty much a warlock is a favored soul of not a god, is one way to look at it, although in your own game you might hand-wave the distinction, and that'd be totally fine. They are people who are either mortals born from gods, they are those who are born as like the central point of a prophecy. They are people who are perhaps born as part of a ritual that tried to funnel a part of a god's essence into a mortal body. Perhaps they're supposed to enact some kind of long-held legend about a god. They're an individual who is connected to a god in a way that far transcends a god simply favoring them. There is a fraction of divine power inside this person that comes from the god, instilled in them by ritual or by rite or by blood, and it defines them. And it's something that can't be taken away, although it could be given. I would say any god could choose to make someone a favorite soul. They would do it cautiously, though, because they are giving them a small part of themselves. Though it can be given, except in extreme circumstances, it cannot be taken away. Once they have it, even though they use pact magic, the favored soul has it. It grows. It fosters. It's a part of them, and it cannot be returned unless they go out of their way to return it, and even then they would find it difficult. So even a favored soul could, in theory, turn against the very god they're connected to, and the god could never simply choose to be like, hey, no more power for you. It's not how it works. It's theirs. They foster it. All right. I do have a little bit of a warning in the guide here that talks about how the favored soul is a powerful class, but I have to be real, I put that mostly in there when I was making it as a way of giving myself permission to go a bit harder than you normally should because of the nature of the class. However, and I've been saying this to everybody around me, I don't actually think it ended up needing it. I actually think that the favored soul ended up being pretty balanced. I mean, it's powerful, but like, in the same sense that a paladin is also very powerful as a base class. So you can take that warning as you would. I actually think it ended up coming out perfectly acceptable. In tier 4, it definitely starts to pop off against other pact casters, but I also think that it just has strengths in places they don't, and that other pact classes have strengths in places it doesn't. Different ways the different tables play will obviously interact with it differently, so it'll be scaled differently at different tables, especially if you're not running all the 5.19 rules. But I don't think it should be an issue. I actually think the favored soul can function with a party and not seem to outshine them. But we'll get into it. So, this is just the quick build stuff. There's the favored soul. I'm going to zoom in a bit. The favored soul class progression, as you can see, it is you're getting something at pretty much every level. It's getting some fighting style advancements along the way. It's 3 of those total, so by the end of the favored soul, you should have a fighting style fully advanced. At least 1, maybe even 2. Like all pact casters, it goes up to 5th level spell slots. Like all pact casters, it gets so many pact spell slots. It starts out with 4 spells known, and it increases at a somewhat irregular rate, but it ends up having a total of 26 by the end, but they do have to prepare them. So that is one thing. Right off the bat, when you begin your character, you are making, you're getting your pact magic right away, which functions the way it usually does, with pact magic, as with the warlock, as with the inscriptor. But you immediately get your subclass features, at least some subclass features that give you a little bit of a difference right out the gate. We'll get down to the actual stuff here in a second, but in my opinion, the divergent essence is where it starts to pop off. A big design philosophy for me is that I want everything I make to feel very modular. I'm very into options. I'm very into choosing your own path and having little skill trees to go down. Everything I make has some element of that. The divergent essence is perhaps the most modular, in that over the course of building your favorite soul, you will pick one of 3 paths that you want to be specialized in. The others will advance, but you can push one subset, be it your magic, be it your movement, or be it your combat, and you can push that forward. That specifically will always be a little bit more advanced. But anyways, just going down into it, they're a D10 hit point. That probably sets them a bit apart from other casters, but they're a D10 hit points. They do light and medium armor out the gate, simple weapons, martial weapons, no tools. They are strength charisma for saving throws, 2 skills from Arcana, History, Intimidation, Medicine, Persuasion, Religion, and Riding. And Riding, by the way, being a version of animal handling that we included in our stuff. This is everything listed on screen right now is, oh, I gotta put an S there. I changed that today. I gotta put an S there. Everything listed here is their starting equipment. As you can see, they get their Cosmic Burden at first level. They will get more Cosmic Burden effects, advancements at 6th level, 10th level, 13th level, and that's it. I specifically picked 13th level because I wanted them to feel like they had all of their cool, unique god stuff in the middle of tier 3, because that's where most games tend to end. I was tempted to have them have have a big heckin' Bonkai style absurd ability always at 20th, but I decided not to do that. I decided to let them rock their stuff from 13th and forward. We talk about how they learn spells here. They have four spells at first level. They do like most pack casters do. Whenever they gain a level, they learn spells. They can learn them of levels they have packed spell slots for. They can switch one of their favorite soul spells, and each time they complete a long rest, they prepare a new set of spells until the next time they long rest, which they can cast using their packed spell slots. It is a note for them that they can cast these spells using packed spell slots. They cannot cast them using regular spell slots. Unlike normal pack casters, who I believe are interchangeable, with these guys, the spells that they prepare as favorite soul spells, they can only cast them with the spell slots they get from here, with packed spell slots. I'm going to change the music to be a little bit more reverent. All right. Spellcasting ability is Charisma. I'm going to take a minor moment here, by the way, to call out a silly little thing. When we were doing initial feedback and we sent the class document out, because it was one of the first ones we did, there were some pretty opinionated bits of feedback that came back, which were useful in their own way, but some of them were a bit authoritative. And there was a couple people who were very aggressive and also often very incorrect about base 5e stuff. One of them called it absurd that that classes just said that your spellcasting ability for your favorite soul spell, blah blah blah, is charisma. They're like, there's no equation. How do we know what it is? And does the same question come up when you look at feats? So we're trained to know that it's 8 plus prof plus ability modifier, and I was just like, whenever you take a feat that says your spellcasting ability for these spells is charisma, you don't think about that same question. You just get into it. And I was just like, yeah, it can apply here. Anyone that is going to play 5.19th edition is either going to know enough about 5e to know what a spellcasting ability is, or they are going to have a GM who knows. I don't think anyone's going to pick up this book and wonder what the equation for spellcasting is. That's my opinion anyways. And we had so much text flying around that I thought to minimize it. So I should change that text because it implies the calculations are there, the equations, but that's not really a huge issue. Let's get into the actual stuff. Divergent Essence. This is where you begin building your favorite soul. This is where you begin choosing the path that you're going to go down, because at this level, at 2nd level, you're going to choose one of these 3. You're going to choose Essence Armament, Essence Flight. I'm going to see if I can maybe move this. Heckin', I'm not going to really be able to, am I? My reactives are going to be a little bit in the way. One sec, I'll move them a little bit out of the way so people can see better. Oh. The reactives aren't necessary, they're just there. There we go. That should be better. So, you pick one of these 3. Essence Armament gives you the ability to create a weapon that functions as the favored weapon of the deity that your burden is tied to. In the guide, it also lists what all of them are, and the subclasses also list what they are. So you can create a spiritual weapon that functions as that weapon. And it's kind of like an equivalent to the Pact of the Blade, in a way. Use your bonus action to summon it or dispel it. If another creature tries to attack using it, it disappears. If it goes more than 100 feet away from you or further than twice its long range, it disappears. And if it is out of your hands, you can use a reaction to immediately recall it back to your hand. You can be Noctis about it, a la Final Fantasy 15. Counts as magical immediately, so they get magic weapons right out the gate if you want them. And it uses, you can use either your normal stats or you can use your spellcasting ability modifier for its attack and damage rolls. Essence Flight, however, if you choose that instead, gives you a set of wings that gives you a flight speed equal to 10 times your proficiency bonus. If you already have a fly speed from something else, it increases by half that much instead. And if you're knocked prone while flying, you can use your reaction to right yourself. So you can decide to have wings of some kind. And it doesn't have to be wings. You could choose to have it be like a big old magic ring that appears behind you. You could choose it to be to float if you want to. Although, to be clear, you cannot choose to have it be a hover speed. But you can get wings or some kind of something that gives you the concept of flight. Essential Radiance. You get an extra packed spell slot. It functions like your other spell slots. And you get cantrips, which you don't normally as a favorite soul. There are no favorite soul cantrips listed, so instead you use the cleric spell list for those. And you have a number of them equal to the number of packed spell slots that you have. So you choose one of those, and that's what you have right out the gate, level 2. Well, not right out the gate, but pretty soon out the gate. You get one of those, and that pretty much is you determining what sort of build you're going to go down. Essential Radiance is for the spellcast heavies. Essential Flight is more for the support heavies or the speed heavies, like a rogue or whatnot would probably want to use that. And Essence Armament is more for the I want to get in their face and bap them. Then, and those of you who are looking at this document, you will note that this has been moved, I believe. Purification. Second level. Number of times per long rest equal to half your proficiency bonus, so at this point it'll be 1. You can use a purification ability. Now I know that a lot of tables don't play with alignment these days, so you might have to come up with some just general approximation, but based on your alignment, you get 1 or 2 of these. I say 1 because if you're true neutral, you'll only have Holy Sanctuary. You will get probably 2 of these. One based off of the law or chaos part of your what is it? Good, evil, neutral, lawful, chaos, neutral section of your alignment, unless you're true neutral. And all of these are built to scale off of your spell slots. Restoration, if you use Purification as an action, you can use it. Choose a creature within 30 feet. They regain hit points equal to 10 times the level of your spell slot, of your packed spell slots. So by the time you're around 10th level, you can just be like, 50 hit points. It is important, and I urge anybody making a character with this class to note that when it says the level of your packed spell slots, when you get to True Divine Mantle, it gives you, I believe, I'm going to jump ahead a little bit. You get a packed spell slot that only comes back on a long rest that is 9th level. The moment you have that, anything in this class that says it's based off the level of your packed spell slots shoots up to pretend that they're all 9th. So keep that in mind. Obviously, that's level 20, so whatever. But all of these abilities are based off of the highest level packed spell slot you have. So when you hit level 20, everything you do goes wild. Yes, if your character is lawful good, Lil, you get the lawful and the good one. You get Restoration, which is within 30 feet of you, positive energy, regain hit points. And you also get Righteous Declaration, which is basically choose a number of creatures equal to your favorite soul level within 60 feet, and then basically cast command on them. And then the other ones are Destruction Evil, which is just effectively Hawkeye from Dragon Ball. 30 feet of you, Constitution save. Wave of destructive energy washes over a creature. This destructive energy deals damage equal to 2d8 plus the level of your packed spell slots. It is necrotic, depending on your cosmic burden. Like if you're Bertramit, god of fire, you may choose to use fire. I'm really big about letting people use those kind of changes. Void Will, one creature within 60 feet of you, you try to break their mind. The creatures must make a charisma save or be stunned for 1 minute, and then they repeat it at the end of every turn. If I multiclass from Warlock, would my Warlock pack spell slots improve my favorite soul abilities? I don't know if you asked that through the thing, but since I just saw it, I'll look at it. So Yes, technically. It's just flatly based off your highest level packed spell slot. So if you have 2 levels of Favored Soul and have these abilities, and you have 18 levels of Warlock, and those packed spell slots multi-class together to give you the 5th level, you immediately get the benefit of them being 5th level. You absolutely do that. I don't see any issue of somebody multi-classing a couple times in to be like, I've got a little bit of Divine in me. Besides, I think if, for example, you've played for 18 levels as a Warlock and then did 2 levels of Favored Soul or vice versa, that's kind of a cool progression at the end to be like, I've unlocked this thing in myself. I think that's very cool. Plus, tier 4. Everything goes in tier 4. Yeah, welcome, by the way, first-time chatters. The other ones, Holy Sanctuary. You are bathed in divine light, which remains for 1 minute. During this time, creatures must attempt to target... That is basically Sanctuary. If creatures attack you, they make a charisma save. If they fail, the action is spent, but they do not target you. They waste it. They are overcome, and they do not strike you. They cannot do so again until the end of their turn. If they succeed, they proceed as expected. For the remainder... unaffected for the remainder of the turn. But if you're true neutral... then those who succeed do not become immune. So if you're true neutral, to make up for the fact that you're only getting this because you won't have another ability, it's a little bit better. It's a little bit more absolute. It's a little bit more, oh, you failed? Stay failed. Let's see. No, sorry, it's if you succeed, then if they have multi-attack, they have to keep remaking it. As opposed to before, where if they succeed, they bypass it for the whole turn. So you get one of those, and these scale a bunch. These are your channel divinity, as it were. In this class, you'll get more of them as you go. They come back on long rests. Then you get 3rd level, you get a fighting style, which, reminder that our book gives advancing fighting styles, where you choose one, you get an effect, and then there's 2 more levels you can take if you advance them. We'll maybe go over those more specifically another day. We can take fighting styles more than once now. No. You can advance your fighting styles, but you cannot take them more than once. Let's see. As you can see there. So you choose one of those. Archery, Blessed Warrior, Dueling, Great Weapon Fighting, Interception, Protection, Superior Technique. Which are all slightly, a little bit remade. I absolutely want to make one going over all the DGRs in the future. Endless trash. Ability score improvements, they get them at 4th, 8th, 12th, 16th, and 19th. They're the usual thing that you get from ASIs. If you're in my game, you don't get to pick stats, you have to take a feat, because I'm a butthead like that. Extra attack, 5th level, you get 2 attacks, standard stuff. Fighting style advancements at 7th, 11th, and 15th levels. You advance a fighting style that you have, presumably the one that you took just now. And if you have one that is already at greater, at its 3rd stage, then you pick a new one instead. Essence Focus. Here's where we continue to be modular. As of taking Essence Focus, you can... You gain 1 additional Essence option feature from 2nd level, so the first thing you do... And this is, if ever you're building this and you're confused about it, come back to here. Open this video, come to here. The first thing you do when you get here is you go back up to Divergent Essence. These are the Essence options. Anytime a thing says Essence option, it's referring to these. Let's say you took Flight before. You now gain either Armament or Radiance. Your choice. That's the first thing you do. And you get the first effect from these. You get just this text. Then you gain one of the Essence Focus options below for one you previously selected. And what's important here is the one you pick has to be for the one you picked before. So if you just took Armament, you can't do Armament here. You have to advance the one that you picked before. And each of the options has a list of things you can do. Essence Armament. You can expand your critical range. You can make it so that your Essence Armament deals an extra damage die of the Radiant or Necrotic damage, or whatever your GM decides is appropriate. The Essence Armament gains an enhancement bonus, which is, your +1, +2, +3. Rounded down, equal to your prof bonus, rounded down whenever you take the attack action. When you take the attack action, you can make a bonus action attack with it. It mentions merging with another weapon. I saw some people in feedback be a little bit confused about what that means. It's this. It's same page, possessed weapon. I changed the naming of it around a little bit to make that clear. I added such as through possessed weapon. It is this one. Is that just basically saying if the weapon that your weapon possesses, which we'll go over after, has an enhancement bonus, you just use whichever one's higher, and the resulting weapon claims it. Let's see. And then, I don't know if I should go over each one of these. Versatile Essence, you can choose to have the weapon be any weapon that you're proficient with instead of your deity's favorite weapon. Essence Flight, you get, you can calculate your AC based on your Charisma plus Dex plus 10 and if you're not wearing armor, and you get to cast the shield spell a number of times per day, requiring no spell slot to do so. Flight Dash, you can take the dash action as a bonus action, but when you do, you have to move, you only move up to half your fly speed instead of your base movement speed. Uninhibited Sight, you can see invisible creatures as if they were visible and into the ethereal realm. If you see other creatures on one plane, you can interact with them from the other. So it kind of is the etherealness spell a little bit constantly. It extends out to a number of feet equal to 10 times your prof. As in the Essential Radiance ones, which is the kind of the spellcaster forward abilities. Body of the Planes, your maximum hit points increased by 1. I guess it's more worth saying it's a general wellness. Sort of like you're just generally more rounded, I guess is what Essential Radiance is. You get basically the tough feat, effectively. Providential Caster, when you may add half your proficiency bonus to any spellcasting ability check you make, such as with Dispel Magic or Counterspell. And you can add your Charisma modifier to any damage roll you make with a favorite spell favorite soul cantrip. And Split Soul Spell, when casting a spell using a favorite pack slot, you can choose to create 2 smaller pack spell slots, each of which is a level equal to your proficiency bonus, rounded up, half of it rounded up, and one of them is immediately used to cast the spell, and you retain the other. So you can split your spell slots into smaller ones if you want to get more spells out of them, or you can just cast them as is with their higher spell level if you want to get more oomph out of them. And you cannot split minor spells. So, just to review, when you get Essence Focus, for the option you took at the previous level, you find which one it is. With Essence Armament, you choose one of these 4 options here, and you would gain that. And then you're going to be picking from these to advance yourself a whole bunch. And that's at 9th level. Then we jump forward to 14th level, which is the next expansion for those abilities. And you gain 1 essence, you gain the following bonuses for the essence options that you picked. So, if you picked Essence Flight at level 2, and then if you picked Essence Armament at level 9, you would get the corresponding abilities for that from here. So those 2, so if you would get Essence Armament Possessed Weapon, which lets you merge your Essence Armament with a regular weapon to empower them both and kind of add the bonuses for them together. And then you would also gain Divine Skirmisher. You do not provoke attacks, but you would not gain this guy. Not yet, at least. I don't think at all, actually, now that I think about it. And then also, you gain one of the Essence Focus options for both of those as well. So for each of the ones that you had before, so for the options you would pick for this, you gain one of those for each of the ones you took. Well, I guess I should go over these real quick. Possessed Weapon, so bonus action, merge your Essence Armament with a regular weapon. There's some criteria here for how they have to fuse. Well merged, the weapon takes on the weapon damage die that is the higher of the 2, but you pick which weapon's properties to use. This indicates the physical. You're kind of taking the best damage from both and the shell of the other and using that, which I leave it up to viewers to have sort of creative uses of being like, yeah, no, I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna take my great scythe with its D12 or whatever, and I'm gonna take this dagger, I'm gonna mash him, and I'm gonna have a dagger that deals D12s. But it'll have the properties of a dagger, so I could, I don't know, sneak attack with it if I'm multiclassed. Beyond this, they have the effects of the possessed weapon and all the benefits of the essence armament. If you dispel your armament, they cease being merged. And if you complete a rest, they cease being merged. And if you specifically choose to merge your essence armament with your deity's favored weapon, then you get 1 attack with advantage per round. Because you're being a good little boy. Good little boy, gal, or anything in between. And you're showing fealty to the god what your power comes from. You're like, I'm going to take my essence armament scythe and my real scythe, smash them together, and make this super cool possessed scythe that's just a little bit better. Divine Skirmisher. Do not provoke opportunity attacks if you entered and exited their reach in the same turn. So basically you can run past people, and as long as you don't stop in their range on your turn, as long as you went into their range on the same turn, you can leave it as well. Empowered Pact. When you cast a spell using a Pact spell slot, you can treat the slot level as if it was equal to half your favorite soul level. So basically, twice per long rest, you can be like, this 5th level spell slot is actually 7th, 8th, for the purposes of upcasting. Now, I'll note, it's not that it doesn't sit there as that type of spell slot, so your purification does not consider that. The abilities that go up in level, the purification things that multiply based on the maximum level spell slot you have, they don't consider that because you're only creating this for the purposes of using it immediately, not for having the spell slot. 17th level, Crown of Splendor. You gain proficiency in 1 saving throw of your choice that you don't already have. Straightforward. Essence Mastery. You gain the essence option that you do not already have. So in this case, in the ongoing example, you would then gain Radiance. And then you gain 1 more essence focus choice for each of the ones you already had. So Flight and Armament would each gain 1 more focus option, meaning you would have 3 of the 4 for each, I think. No, you'd have 3 of the 4 for one, 2 of the 4 for another, and you would have none for the final option that you just picked. And that's kind of what I mean by you have this like skill tree where one of them's quite advanced, one of them's pretty good, and the other, you can use it at the end. It's kind of like a little pyramid, you know? And then True Divine Mantle, 20th level. If any of us ever are to see such a thing, a 20th level character. When you take the attack action, you may attack 3 times instead of once. Which is an improvement on the earlier extra attack. Also, a lot of the subclasses that are combat-oriented actually make this into 4. When you're reduced to 0 hit points and begin dying, you do not suffer... Okay, I will note for anyone who's here, the 5.19 rules change how dying works, where you don't become unconscious, you just go down and you can't move properly and you want to get points on your turn. When you're reduced to 0 hit points, you begin dying, suffer no penalties to your movement, do not fall prone, can still concentrate on spells, and you can still take an action or bonus action on your turn. So basically, when you're dying, you can still do your stuff. You can still basically act normally, but you're still at 0 hit points, and you will still take death saves, and if you go down, you're down. Anytime you make an ability check or saving throw that does not already add your proficiency bonus, you may add half your proficiency bonus to the result, which is a general jack of all trades, but also, because of the calculation, it adds your full bonus to things like Counterspell, if you took the earlier ability that we talked about. And then finally, you gain an extra packed spell slot, for a total of 6, I believe. This one is the one I mentioned earlier. This one is a 9th level slot that instantly boosts all of your purification abilities up to acting like they're all 9th level. You only get it back on long rests, and for good measure, it notes it right here that it calculates all of your other stuff based on that. I see people going off about the combining weapons thing in the chat. Keep in mind that unless you take versatile essence, your options as to what the possessed weapon is are limited. So keep that in mind. That one really unlocks the combining weapon choice. With that is the base class features for the favorite soul. I'm gonna go ahead and before I jump into the cosmic burdens, which are all based on gods in Somnus Domina, specifically Retian deities, but are all based on them. It's not an exhaustive list, because I didn't want to work myself to death, but it is here. Based on these, I'll go through a few of them, I guess, and the art associated with them. But why don't I answer a couple questions in general, real quick? I'm gonna aim for favorite soul questions. I'm gonna go through, I'm gonna answer, let's say 5 of them right now. So, which is my favorite of the burdens? That's a good place to start. Well, there's quite a few of them. I really like the Vestius one because the Vestius one is just a Super Saiyan spellcaster on crack. But I'm a pretty big fan of Gotham's. I think that's neat. Of Chankaragash's, both of whom are entities that are currently being discussed in our Nat 19 games, which you can watch on Saturdays, but not this Saturday because we're taking this Saturday off. I like Bertramit because it's pretty straightforward, adds fire. Oh, that's a tough question. They're so contextual. I mean, I picked the Burden of Tithys to be my reactive for this stream, so I feel like I'm kind of obligated to say that, but I kind of just like the way he looks. Tell you what, I will go back and answer that one as I go through. If I hit one, I'll be like, that one. Could you elaborate as to why they are called burdens as opposed to another moniker for the subclasses? Because you didn't necessarily ask for them. You were born this way, they were tied to you. You are saddled with the pressure and the destiny that comes with this. Surely anybody who is born as a favored soul who did not ask for this, they're destined for their life to be swept up into it. And for that reason, it is a burden. They might accept it, but it is a burden. It's something that they will have to live with and will define who they are. Want to take the Doomstalker feature. I'll answer that one later. Actually, to get ahead of myself, the Doomstalker feature, when it's extra damage, is that double damage? I believe is written no. Okay, skipping ranger questions. What is the process for getting art for the classes and subclasses? Is it a simple outline or is it more specific? Sometimes it's a page of details and a general vibe. Sometimes I write a small book for the artist. It varies depending on what I want. It also depends on which artist I'm working with and what space we have to work with on the page and whether or not... Sometimes I'm getting art done as we're writing the content and we don't have a page space set for them, and we fit everything around them. And sometimes I get most of it done after we have the layout done. And in that case, I have to consider how much room is on the page and how it would most dynamically interlock with the text. So there's different considerations at different stages, but mostly it's a long outline with a lot of references. Usually there's no more than 2 or 3 rounds of back and forth on designs. Most of our artists, I usually take something from the first set of references or ideas they give me. But yeah, it's vague. It depends on the art, depends on what it is, depends on how elaborate it has to be. Okay. Hi Logan, I don't know if anyone has asked this question before, but how compatible is the favored soul with settings outside of Retia? I suppose this goes for other classes and subclasses as well as with the upcoming public release of D&D 2024. We are not going to support D&D 2024 with the exception of maybe the monk. This book does not support it. It was not written with it in mind because we've been working on this for about 2 years. Which is right around the same time where the 1D&D stuff began, and I had to just make the choice to basically ignore that and be like, this is for base 5e, and it will continue to kind of go off in its own direction. We don't have a super great relationship with Wizards because we do not support the AI bend that they're on, and every other week it's a new scandal. I mean, this video went up just on the tail end of the D&D Beyond scandal. So the kind of pointed answer to that question is it's not going to be... if it's compatible with the 2024 stuff, as of this moment, that's an accident, and we're not worried about doing that. If we do, cool. If we don't, we're not going to worry about it because we're going to kind of focus on our own little niche. Although I will be reviewing the 2024 content and like stealing anything that might be super good, salvaging it for future 5.19 stuff. But we're going in a different direction from Wizards, and I think that's fine. As for how compatible is it with settings outside of Retia? Assuming your table thinks it's balanced for them, assuming you don't have any house rules that blow this wide open, assuming you don't have any minor considerations about how the pack casters are run that blow the class open, which some tables do, because some tables are pretty loose about things, some are very strict about things, some have weird rules that they made up. We do, and then we made it into a book. It should be fine. It will mostly need a coat of paint. Unapologetically, our stuff does run off the 5.19 engine, though, so if you don't have some version of combat fatigue or don't use our spells, you're probably going to bump into issues. But if you have some equivalent for those, or you can find a way around them, you should be fine. We'll probably have to put another coat of paint on things. I know most tables, a lot of casual tables, a lot of home tables are pretty good at being like, if this god needs to exist, we'll just have it. It exists. It's in the Pantheon, whatever. It's the Simonian Pantheon. It totally exists. There's a faraway continent. We're not going to think about it. All the crazy space stuff, the mech stuff, oh, that's not part of it. But yeah, the gods exist. Haros exists. I assume people will do that, and if they don't, they'd be like, well, Haros doesn't exist, or Agris doesn't exist, but Helm does. Burden of Helm. Done. Nice thing about gods and domains, and why using them as a loose framework is good, is that they're pretty universal. Although in future content, I may move away from strict divine stuff. In the future, I do want to work on another setting that I might want to run some stuff in that's not Somnus Domina, although it might be an offshoot, and the concept of gods might stay at the door. One more, let's say. Okay, so I know you talked about it in Discord, but are the people and creatures that are also in the Forgotten Realms, like Tiamat and Fierna, going to go by new names in the campaign itself? Anything that was previously an overlap in the two is gone. Everything that's being built from this point on is being built with the idea that it's all unique to Somnus Domina. The Dukes of Hell are not allegories for the same gods as before. Like Asmodeus is probably not going to come up again. However, some things have happened in our game. Tiamat was referenced before we made the IP shift, and Fierna happened in our game before we made the IP shift. They are going to officially go by titles like the Duke of Treaties, like the Queen of Evil Dragons. We can't erase them from existence, nor would I want to, but their names are not going to be used. I think in their cases, the content will sort of subtly ignore them as the entities they are, and we will instead use their titles as monikers for them, and we will move forward with that. I think that we're at a point now where telling unique stories that aren't simply Forgotten Realm or Greyhawk repaints is something that we should do. I think we got a pretty cool, unique setting, and I want to use it and not have it just be an IP allegory for the Forgotten Realms. I want to truly have it be its own thing. All right. Boom. Okay, so those were, you know what, one is Chan Karagash named that way to be cute? You know, like starting with Chan? No, but it does sound nice, doesn't it? All right. Oh? For favorite soul, what would the recommended parallel of Elistre be specifically? Give me just 1 second. I'm not going to go off just my memory for this. Elistre, what were your domains again? Because kind of that's all you really got to look at. Domains. Light, nature, life. Tithys! 100%. Tithys. Right away. So I'll scroll down to Tithys. Actually, that's a good segue. Why don't we start looking at the subclasses now? So let's go look at Tithys. Tiquin. Tithys. Life, nature, bounty, harvest. The burden of Tithys. I mean, you might find some things that aren't great there. You'll notice the 4 elemental, the paraprismatic, I believe is what we called them. I think that was what they were. Gods. Was it paraprismatic? I think it was. But I digress. Each of them has this essence feature on them, those being Evsil, Bertramit, Tithys, and Ilstrabe, who are all elemental gods. They each have this thing that you gain these bonuses depending on which of the essence options you choose. So keep that in mind when you're building them. You just get these for ones that you have. You technically get the feature that gives them to you before you get them, but that's just because that's the level you get these features at, and it's just building it forward. Digression. Sometimes I write a feature at a subclass level that is like, when you get this feature, it will do this. And I know some people find that a little bit odd because they're like, that doesn't fire until later. Usually I will put those in there with another feature that comes online immediately beside it so that you do get something. In my sense of design, I don't see a problem with that, because yes, you don't gain these immediately, but it is telling you that when you get it, then you'll have it. That it will come online as like an additional subclass feature. So if you're reading the book and you ever bump into a thing like that, that's like when you gain evasion, this happens, but you gain it like 5th level as a rogue. I don't see an issue with that. You might just have to make peace with that, because I know some people, it ticks their brain in a way that's not great, but not me. But anyways, Burden of Tithys as an example. Clubs and quarterstaffs are their favored weapons, so you could choose those for their essence armaments. You become resistant to acid damage. You gain one of these features. All of them give you some version of Ilsrabe's Veil, which is a spell that is effectively Armor of Agathis. They're all kind of the same between the elemental ones to give them parallels. 6th level. When you cast a spell using a spell slot that targets a single ally, that ally regains hit points equal to half your favorite soul level. So, for example, if you cast Bless, or you cast Enlarge Reduce on somebody, they get the extra benefit of they gain some hit points back. And when you target multiple instead, it's not half of your level, it's the level of the pact slot that you use to cast it. Oh, 1 second, please. Illustrae is a brilliant nature god, sword wife of freedom for the Doraus, more her deal. Then Lassuria Invidiva, I suppose. Probably. Alright. I mentioned earlier that Vestius was one of my favorite ones. So, all of the idolic deities' burdens, they all give you this. Eidolon's Favored, which, when you make Idomancy burn checks, for those who don't know, some spells in this system are called Idomancy, which means that when you cast them, they could hurt you, but they're more powerful than usual. So when you cast them, you roll a Constitution save. This gives you advantage on those, and also all of your attacks are magical and idolic. In our system, idolic is a damage type that's basically like magic. It's not a damage type, quote unquote. It's a property, but some things are unkillable unless what kills them is idolic. Some things take half damage from everything unless it's idolic. Usually deities. It's kind of, idolic is the super magic of the setting, to simplify it. Then you get Skykeeper's High Sorcery. As a favorite soul of Vestius, you can treat spells on the Sorcerer spell list and the Skykeeper's Arcana spell list groups as if they're on the favorite soul spell list. So when you're choosing your spells, you can choose from the Sorcerer spell list or from the Skykeeper's Arcana group, which is a group of spells associated with Vestius. and you can learn them as if they're a favorite soul. Quick cast. When you take the attack action, you can use your bonus action to cast a favorite soul spell that would normally take 1 action. The spell's cast this way is treated as if cast at its base level, even if the spell slot you use is higher. So if you're like, I want to do my attacks, but I also want to cast, let's say, haste, because you can do sorcerer spells, you could pop in and be like, what up? Hit, haste. Guess what? Hit. And that'd be a fair thing to do. The only drawback being is if you cast something, you cannot upcast it. Even if your spell use the 9th level spell slot, and you're like, I'm gonna pop an inflict wounds, it's gonna be a base level inflict wounds, unless you use your full regular action to cast it. Anti-magic Aegis. As an action, you can use your purification. This is where I should note. A key facet of the favorite soul class is that the 10th level ability of all the subclasses, I think without exception, is always something that gives you something to use purification for, an extra purification ability. So an extra option to use it on. In this case, you create a barrier that renders your outside magic ineffectual for 1 minute. You are immune to the effects of spells of a spell level equal to or lower than half your favorite soul level, -1, and it's rounded down, which means when you're level 20 and under this effect, magic just isn't getting you. It's done. You're immune to magic. Unless the magic is from deities or artifacts, which is a thing that I tend to write into a lot of our stuff. And you have advantage on ability checks and saving throws made against anything that does bypass the effect. And then Boon of Sorcery's Might, you gain yet another spell slot that functions identically to your regular ones, and its level is indicated. So if you are this, and you take, you take Essential Radiance, and you get up to level 20, you do have a metric ton of packed spell slots. You would have the 5 from your base stuff, the extra 1 from Essential Radiance. You would have an extra 1 from this, and then you'd have a 9th level 1. That only comes back on long rests, mind you. But, so that's one of the reasons why this is one of my favorites, is if you have this, you are bonkers. And I'm going to switch to the mean version of this song to give us some variance. But that particular effect is a very... I mean, anyone who's played a pack spellcaster knows how big having an extra slot would be. Things like that are kind of your GM should know that you're probably going to be a little bit more powerful, but if I'm going to be real, with my expectation and experience with pack casters at different tables, I don't think it'll actually unbalance everything. As long as everyone's kind of got their own things going on, I think it'll just make one player feel a little bit juicier. That's all. And that's fine. Real quick, before I move on, because I don't want to go through all of them, because I want to get through the Ranger today too. Is there... I'm going to look at the chat. Don't bother submitting this as an AMA. Is there a particular burden that you guys would want us to go over? And if so, is there something that goes with it that you'd be curious about? And why is it the Haros one? And why is it because it a little bit makes you into Gurren Lagann? To Quinn. I see to Quinn. Okay. I'll go over to Quinn, and then one more. Where are you? To Quinn's. And is there a reason why you say to Quinn? Is there a burden of rot? Rot's not a god. Can't be a burden if you're not a god. So to Quinn, another example of an idolic deity, because in our setting there's lesser gods are non-idolic deities. They're the ones that are regular, they're divine, they're forces of nature, they have established their divine realm to gain immortality, they have attuned themselves to domains, they're a god. When an exarch, a person that can process idomantic energy more powerfully, when they ascend to godhood and they can channel idomantic energy, the super magic of the setting, they become an idolic deity, which is capable of housing far more domains, like 8 to 12 as opposed to 2 to 3, and they are just a different classification. They are the primary gods. And that's why these ones have Eidolon's favorite. They're not all Eidolons, because Eidolons are a title of a group, but they are all Eidolic deities versus lesser deities. They all have the Adamancy thing. Enchantment of the Muses. You are blessed by the harmonious nature of Tequin, letting you treat all bard spells and spells that are part of the Epic of Duality as on theirs, which is like with Vestius, it's all bard spells, and then all of the Tequin-based spells. You can treat them as favorite soul spells. Furthermore, when you gain expertise in the performance skill. I will note in this setting that we codified it that based on 5.19, proficiency and expertise are two different things that can exist independent of each other. You can have expertise in something that you don't have proficiency in. It's rare, and almost no feature has wording that lets you do it. But in this case, if you have expertise, if you didn't have proficiency before, you would just get your proficiency bonus on it. And then later on, if you have another instance of a skill that lets you take proficiency, you could be like, and now I'm proficient. And you get your proficiency bonus twice. It was just very useful to us to codify it and have it be its own word so that not every feature that had to do it had to re-explain you get your proficiency bonus again another time unless another feature was allowing you to do it. It was easier to just go to the start of a section and being like, this is what expertise is. It describes itself. Good, moving on. Heckin'. Oh. Okay. 6th level, Second Echo. A second illusory extension of yourself invisibly watches over you at all times. You cannot be surprised in combat. It is active while you sleep. You have no penalty to passive perception while unconscious or distracted. You can use its senses to compensate for your own, so you cannot be blinded. And you can also basically have Unseen Servant permanently cast around you. And then, I'm sorry, I'm just messing with some chat stuff. Harmonious Duplicate. This one was hard to fit on a card. As an action, this is level 10. This is the Purification feature. You can use Purification to make a proper duplicate of you within 30 feet. And in combat, it is treated as if it was you. At the start of each of your turns, and when you use this action to make it, you can choose which of you is real. So, just to state that very specifically. Hey Anna! Thanks for the raid! Whenever you start your turn, you'll have you and the other illusory you've created. You pick which of you is real at that point, and the one that you pick, effectively, you're like, all right, that was always the real one. Let's go. The other then becomes the illusion. The real you assumes all the conditions and effects and whatnot the real you should have. But you can, for example, use this to get out of things. Like if one of you is grappled, you can be like, well, then the other one is the real me. The one being grappled, that's the illusion. I'm not grappled anymore, unless I pop back in. You can move you and your illusory duplicate on your turn as if they each had their movement speed equal to yours. And you can see through both of their senses simultaneously. You can, which kind of just ties into the thing up here. You can speak through the duplicate if you wish to. It can move through other creatures, but cannot end its turn in their space. Cannot move through environmental factors, however, that are more than 4 inches thick. Objects picked up by the real you are mirrored by the duplicate, though they stay with the real you whenever you switch. You cannot transport living creatures this way, or anything larger than you. And when you are targeted by an attacker's spell you are aware of, you can use your reaction to switch the positions of you and the illusory duplicate. If you do, roll a d100. If your result is higher than twice your favorite soul level, so let's say you're level 11, you get attacked by something, you're like, wow, that giant sure is a tower-sized club, wouldn't like to get hit by that. Reaction, I'm actually over there. Roll a d100, and your level is 11, so if your result is 22 or higher, the effect ends and the duplicate vanishes. So you can basically opt out of an attack and move at a very high risk that this effect will end. The effect lasts for a minute. If it ends early, but ends early if your duplicate ends its turn more than 120 feet away from you. So you could bring this thing out, and then you guys could get pretty far away from each other. And it also would be a great effect for, like, thievery. Because you could go outside a building, create a duplicate, have it go in, kind of wander around outside, make sure you're within 120 feet of it, have it weasel its way into, like, a bank vault, I don't know. And then once you're inside of it, you could grab something, the guards rush up on you, they're like, hey, stop, come back! And then you're just like, oh, well, you pick up the item, it is mirrored to the outside you, next turn starts, you choose that the outside you is now real, dismiss the ability, you got the thing. So that's a pretty cool ability. Based on the fact that Tequin is a god that has two aspects. That they are a god that is one but twins. And then finally, 13th level Echoing Blade. On each of your turns, you can make one attack through your Harmonious Duplicate as long as you aren't incapacitated. So you can, even if the other one's fake, you can still attack through it as if it was you. The attack is treated as coming from you in all regards except physical source. Creatures who can see through illusions or have true sight give that attack a disadvantage if it's from the clone. Furthermore, creatures provoke opportunity attacks when leaving the Harmonious Duplicate's range, and then you can use your reaction to attack that way. So yeah, Tequin. I want to go over briefly. I'm going to move on from... Tell you what, we will take another 10 minutes on the Favored Soul, and I'm going to try to cover 2 more subclasses, and then we'll move on to the Ranger. But before we do, why don't I open up the thing, why don't I check some more questions? I'll take another couple from the top, and then I'll go down and take some from the... Oh, there's only 10. Let's just... You already... Oh, sorry, I already asked the thing. You mentioned that the Elistre thing, I kind of quick glanced their article and I couldn't quite remember much about them. I would have to look through stuff. Probably one of the ones that deals with more nimble combat, so probably Lusuria or Invadiva. Maybe High Tranquil? Maybe. No, High Tranquil would probably be more of a Lulf thing. So, I'm gonna have to move on from that question. For Essential Radiance, if your subclass lets you choose other schools of magic to learn from, like Gotham, can you learn cantrips from that list? No. It is only from clerics, unless your GM says so. The text says that it is from the cleric list, so it's from the cleric list. Actually, you know what? I'm a big fan of it does what it says it does, and it doesn't do what it doesn't say it does. So, let's actually me about the stuff I wrote. You learn number cantrips from the cleric spell list. Yes, so. No, okay, so it is as I said. It has to be from the cleric spell list. They don't count as favored soul spells until they're that, so even if another school of magic counts as favored soul spells, it still doesn't consider those for cantrips. However, the text says this, and this is true, because text is king, but even being the one who wrote the text, if someone at my table was like, I took spells from Tequin, can I choose my cantrips from there? I would, without a thought, be like, yes, you can, of course, because that sounds fun. So, that is what it is. Oh. When I'm writing content, there is the part of me that is the GM who advocates for my table, and then there's the part of me that needs to write the content to be universally useful. And those are not the same brain all the time. There's a lot of times that I write things with the intention of at a table being like, yeah, of course people are going to ask for this, and I think a GM should give it to them. But I also think that the strictly functioning rules need to be there and work, so that a GM, if there's a problem, can point at it and be like, we're doing it this way. Because there might be a good reason to reinforce these things. Okay. So, that question. If you combine the essence of a net into a different weapon, could it still capture people, or would it just not do anything? I would, as a GM, say it doesn't have the shape needed to do that. Also, it takes on their properties, but I don't think it takes on special. I would say no, because it's one of those cases of this isn't a video game. Unless you... A dueler, you're almost dead. You only got 8,000 hit points. Someone's gonna kill you, dude. Unless you had a really cool idea where you're like, I've infused it into a whip, can the whip become a net? Like, can it spread out, and the length of the whip, can it, like, fold itself into a net? Unless you had a good reason like that, I'd be like, nah. There's some reasonable... there's some level of rationale that needs to be met. What is, in your opinion, the best multi-class option for the favored soul? It really depends on what you're doing, and the fact that they're so modular means you can build them pretty much to be whatever kind of character you want. So I don't think there's a good answer to that. I think they would synergize with a lot of things. Obviously, the cleric and the paladin, they would functionally synergize with really well. But I don't think there is an obvious answer to that question. Okay. I'm going to look for one more question. Actually, no. I'm just gonna, I'm gonna go down the list. I'm gonna do whatever remains for the favorite soul. Any ideas for the flavor of subclassing into favorite soul later? Or would you say that the idea that you would be a fit for it should be part of your backstory? I absolutely think you should. I think that it's almost built to be multi-classed into later. The flavor, so yeah, I assume you meant multi-classing and not subclassing. I absolutely think that as your character levels up, there maybe could be a point where they realize they have a connection to a god, and then they start taking favorite soul levels, or if your GM wants to get fancy, you could be a character who's a paladin, or a cleric, and you have a connection to a god that you don't even necessarily support, and then at some point you realize that's because you have this bit of them in you, and then upon discovering that power, you change all of your cleric or paladin levels to favorite soul, and try to keep the themes relatively similar, like your build relatively similar. Those kind of things are absolutely what it's for. I absolutely think that's a thing that you should do. It's a cool idea. I think that starting a character as a favorite soul is almost somehow more difficult than the idea of multi-classing in later. But obviously it's not, difficult. But it is, I think, the favorite soul is very much kind of born from the old 3.5 idea where levels were a bit more like, you could lose them, take them away, get more, change them. The idea of a cleric going from a mere servant of their god to a deigned particular representative of them, and so all their cleric levels turn into favorite soul levels, like for the final battle of a campaign. Like that kind of stuff that's where my brain lives. It's not the kind of stuff I do, but it's the kind of stuff I like to imagine happening, How open are you guys about people making content for 5.19 edition as an official setting? Well, right now, we'd like people to do us the courtesy of letting us know if they want to make stuff in it. I do not have any kind of plan where right now I'd be like, well, we want to get cut in or anything. However, we are going to be using the Creative Commons attribution, and we're not submitting this content into Open Gaming License straight away. I'm going to be replacing the OGL page at the end with that. And I have a very specific note that we do not want our IPs being freely used as open game content. That said, we built everything we have on the back of the OGL and off of, the community. And I want to support that as well. So I like the idea of people making 5.19 content as homebrew and third-party content. Admittedly, it's so early in the true lifetime of our brand that it makes me feel... I worry about what the correct answer is, if that makes sense. But the overwhelming thought that I'm having is I want people to do that, and I want people to make it, and I want to inspire people to be creative and want to make their own content. And eventually, I'd like to move our creative team out and have more people on board making content with us, so that I am not the only writer. And I think after a couple of guides, we'll be at that point. So I absolutely would love to foster that kind of impulse in people. I'd love it if they made stuff based on it. Though I will say at this point, because the brand is the size it is, if you're going to make stuff based on us and put it up on drive-thru or whatnot, please clearly attribute us. Please link back to us. It would really help us, and I think it would also help those that want to make more content within the edition if our stuff was more visible. Let's see. Can there be burdens for dead or absent gods? Absolutely. You could be the distant, a Hercules-style distant demigod. You have divine blood from a god who died long ago, but the blood stayed in your family. Absolutely, you can. That's a neat as heck idea. I love that. In your opinion, I'm not going to answer this one immediately because I'd have to go look at some other stuff. But in your opinion, what would the best... maybe I will. In your opinion, what would the best level 20 split be between the Favorite Soul, Haros, and the Way of the Heavenbreaker Sword Saint for maximum Gurren Lagann vibes? This is a good transition into looking at Haros. because everything to do with Haros is a little bit Gurren Lagann coded. He's basically, take Helm and add the vibe you get from Gynex. So, Eidolons favored, as they all have. First level, you gain proficiency with heavy armor and shields. And you can treat the paladin spells and the Legacy of Gold spells as if they were on your spell list, same as with the other Eidolic deity ones. This is a monumental, a petitioner who serves Haros in their divine realm. One of their soldiers, effectively. Paragon Will. When you fail a saving throw or ability check, you can choose to use your reaction to add half your favorite soul level rounded down to the result, possibly changing the outcome. You can do so a number of times per short or long rest equal to half your proficiency bonus. So, if you fail a save, you can be like, well, then maybe plus 10, anywhere from +1 to +10, how about? So they're really good at just super indomitabling. Purification. Crimson Spiral Meteor. As an action, you can use Purification to envelop yourself in a spiraling radiant aura, then launch yourself like a meteor at a creature that you can see within 60 feet, and then there's an explosion there. Your target and each creature within 20 feet of them except you makes a dex save, taking 1d12 times your packed spell slot level, or half as much damage in radiant damage on a successful save. Your primary target, in addition to the radiant damage, takes piercing damage equal to 1d12 times your packed spell slot level, or half as much on a success, and then you end that attack in an unoccupied space within range, which means anywhere in that 20-foot, or anywhere within that, what would it be? What did I have in mind when I did this? Within 60 feet of where you were, I guess? I would probably say it has to be on the other side of them, because the idea is that you're landing sort of behind them. Actually, maybe I'd say within 20 feet of them. I don't know. I might actually clarify that text. But, heckin'. So that's basically a Gigadrill break by another name. Sort of. Legally distinct, doing its own thing, Gigadrill break. Let's see. And then Adamantine Hide, your skin becomes hardened and able to withstand astounding force. When you take piercing, slashing, or bludgeoning, you take 5 fewer points, and when you are hit with a critical hit, you use your reaction to make it a normal hit instead. So those are the things that the Haros one can do. The thing that they are referring to, which we'll cover more in the Sword Saint stream, when we eventually do it, is the Sword Saint has a equally Gurren Lagann coded one. Let's see. My impulse is to say 14th level favored soul, 6th level Sword Saint, so you can get up to dumb luck. Because I think getting your purification feature and your 13th level adamant hide feature are good. You'd have to take 11 levels to make the impossible possible, which means you wouldn't get your purification feature if you're only going up to level 20. So, I would say, I'd say 13, maybe 14 favored soul, 6, maybe 7 Sword Saint is the best way to go. I love this. The more you look at this, the more it's like, it's no particular person from any Gynex media, but it's also so evident what influenced this. With that, I think that I'd like to stop talking about the favorite soul. I think that we'd like to put the favorite soul to bed. Let's talk about the Ranger. The 5.19 Ranger. Let's look at some questions. I saw some things came in. Let's clear that question, because I know we had some Ranger questions earlier I was skipping over. Could someone who is a favorite soul also be an Exarch? Yep. Absolutely they could. Those things are far from mutually exclusive. I mean, especially if you're a favorite soul of an Eidolic deity, then, yeah. Let's switch the music back. Let's switch the music over to... Yeah. This is a bit of a niche question involving the races. Alright, we'll take a small digression. Involving the races due to something I call the Rogue's Paradox. The implication of Hanyo is they get their humanoid from their non-yokai parent. If one were to take frame-built as the second, modifying the base race of Hanyo instead of being a parent, how would that work? Well, if one of the parents is a frame-built... So, I hate to say this. The lore answer is that frame-built cannot have kids, so they would not qualify to be the secondary or primary race with another one. They're one of the ones that the guide points out, you could do these, but you have to come up with some idea as to why. Like, instead of, it's not that your parent is a frame build, it's that you're a human and you basically have an automale situation going on, so you're treating yourself as if being your secondary race. But they actually can't mix by lore, so it's very up to you how you would want to handle that. But, yeah, I guess that would kind of just be the way to go. You would already be having to be, you'd already be changing. I mean, I guess if you want... So is just the issue that you're not a humanoid? Did I write that? You're a humanoid. As a frame build, you are a humanoid. You're just a humanoid, a frame build, and a construct. So nothing is mechanically not working if you hand wave the can't have kids. But by lore, it doesn't work. You could maybe say that as a frame built, you were built or activated or infused with demonic or fiendish energy, so you're kind of like a possessed fiendish frame built. And the Hanyo-ness comes from that what was a frame build has been turned into like a Naraku-esque situation. And you could run from there, but this exact combination does require you come up with creative leaps that you have to take to make them work, which is part of the fun, but that's kind of where you have to come from if you're going to do that. Let's go to the Ranger. Let's go over the Ranger, shall we? The Ranger, rebuilt in 5.19 to be more of a Slayer, I pick you to die and I'm gonna kill you class. So, Banger. Manger. Alright. Let's do, where do we want to start on this? So, let's start with just the basic stuff. I'll go over this in a second. They're a D10 class. Their spellcasting is going to work basically exactly the same as it always worked, just noting that. Light armor, medium, shields, simple weapons, martial weapons, strength, dexterity. Choose 3 from animal handling, athletics, insight, investigation, nature, perception, stealth, survival. You get your stuff, plus 120 average gold. Ranger. So, before we get into actually saying what the classes do, the main reason I rebuilt the Ranger was because I found that the Ranger was this hodgepodge of features. It was something that it didn't really stand out in the base game. Most people that played Rangers sort of just felt like slightly off fighters who kind of had useful magic, but not really. Their features implied a lot of mechanical depth 5e just did not have about areas. A lot of times people would pick Ranger and they'd be like, my creatures that I don't like are dragons, and then the campaign would have one dragon and they'd never get to feel like their favorite enemy really pops off. So I wanted to make it more general. I also wanted to give more of an active bonus. More of an active bonus that, oh, you wanted more, sorry, I might have understood the way that you had it around, Yellow Mage. If you wanted to go more for like, cyborg yokai, same leaps, basically, just kind of the other way around. Maybe you're a yokai or you're a Hanyo that has automail, that kind of thing. Anyways, Ranger. I wanted it to feel like you got to, with all classes, with their core feature, it's always something that you have something you can use a bunch, like Action Surge, Purification, Sneak Attack. Or it's something that lets you like pull out extra dice and roll extra dice on things that make you as a player feel like, aha, my bonus, my tactile advantage. I roll this D6, it's my special D6. Which the 2024 Ranger's kind of trying to do with the Hunter's Mark stuff, but I don't really personally feel like it's succeeding all that well. With this one, I base that. I'm trying to evoke that feeling from your favor bonus and your favor die, which are basically if you're rolling against things that are your favorite enemies or that you're designating even temporarily to be your favorite enemies, you're gonna get these bonuses. The bonus goes from +1 up to +4 as you level. The bonus die, the favor die, goes from D4 to D12, and these the favor die almost always will be on saves or damage or attack or what have you, and the bonus will almost always be on ability checks and attack rolls, and they just give you that extra oomph, especially at the end where if you're in endgame, if you are level 17, and you're fighting a dragon and your favorite enemy's dragons, you're getting a consistent +4 to hits and ability checks, and you're getting a D12 of damage on things. That is kind of the basis of having these, specifically the rolling of that damage dice, having like a Hunter's Mark-esque situational damage die, is what I wanted to go for. And then all the features that it has kind of give it more utility, give it more speed, give it a strong first turn is something I wanted to focus on. And I also wanted to overcome the hurdle of what if we don't fight my favorite enemy. And all of these things I found were like micro-addressed in Tasha's with all the optional feature, but the optional ranger features ended up turning the ranger into this weird build your own kind of half-baked ranger situation in my opinion. And then as 1D&D came out and then the 2024 revision, it just became this weird... Ranger became this blob of picking and choosing features that I do not find satisfying at any stage. So, when we were doing this book, I wanted to make the Ranger into something that I thought my players would enjoy playing. That they'd look at it and be like, that seems exciting. And so, with that said, let's move forward from there. Real quick, I just saw your question. I'll just quickly answer it. I would like to not get, just while we're doing this, I'd like to not get stuck in like race questions and whatnot. We can have a stream in the future specifically about those. But how would you mix Inaritos and Kitsadria? I don't think that there's really a nuance to that. You can just mix them. Neither of them preclude the other. So you should be good. Let's see. Favorite enemy. First level. Right out the gate, you get favorite enemy. It's a +1 D4 right away. You have no spells right away. Choose one type of favorite enemy. It can be aberrations, beasts, celestials, constructs, dragons, giants, goblinoids, elementals, fae, fiends, monstrosities, oozes, plants, or undead. You gain any languages spoken by your choices, and you know how to read, speak, and write them. When you make an attack against your favorite enemy, you add your bonus, that +1 right now, +4 by the end, and to the attack rolls, and then you add the favored die to your damage rolls against them. These bonuses are listed on the table. Furthermore, you can add your favor bonus to any skill check that you make to combat, contest, outwit, or track your favorite enemy. So are you trying to push them over? Are you trying to find them? Are you trying to have an arm wrestle with them? Are you trying to outsmart them? Then you add your favor bonus. Each time you gain a ranger level where you would gain an ability score improvement feature, you can choose an additional one listed, gaining the language as described. Or each time you gain one of these additional types, you can choose 2 types of humanoid races as your favorite enemies instead. For example, you can choose Dragonkin, Kuohono, Human, Elf, Kapihado, etc., and then they become your favorite races, and you gain both of those languages. Because normally, you cannot pick humanoids. I think that humanoid is too broad of a consideration to allow it to be picked. Then proficiency focus. You get to do one of the following immediately when making your character. Choose one skill you're proficient with. When you make a roll using that proficiency, you can add your bonus. Oh, hey, it's expertise. I should have just written expertise. But to be fair, it's one that you are proficient with, so it's whatever, it's describing itself, it doesn't matter. Or you can choose to be proficient in simple and martial firearms, which in our system require an extra layer of proficiency, but you can out the gate just be like, nuh-uh, I'm proficient with firearms, I got this. They're a bit more powerful, they cost a little bit more to use, but you can choose them. Terrain Master, first level ranger feature. You're an expert in dealing with set types of environments. You gain one of the following movement types: climbing or swimming. Your speed for this movement type is equal to your base movement speed. So if you choose swimming, then if your base movement speed is 30, then you have 30 feet of swim speed. If it goes up to 40, swim speed goes up too. Your mastery of the elements grants you the following benefits. You ignore non-magical difficult terrain. You have advantage on initiative checks. This goes back to that wanting a strong first turn. You're a ranger. You're always on the lookout. So you have advantage on initiative checks. If you would be surprised in combat, you can take actions and move normally on your first turn. So that is not to say that you're not surprised, which is actually something I think we've been doing wrong in Gilligan's Grave. It's not that you're not surprised, but on your first turn, you don't have to skip taking your actions and movement. You can just go. Heck in. Additionally, when you are exploring the wilderness, you gain the following benefits. Your travel speed is not reduced. That's an exception, prof, not the rule. It's an exception. Heckin', your travel speed is not reduced by difficult or unforgiving terrain. If you make a survival leading check related to travel in the wilderness, leading checks are a system that we have in 5.19 where one person's chosen to make the definitive check for an activity. Everyone else contributing also rolls the check, and then instead of being applied to it, if they succeed by a certain amount, the main check gets a +1. If they fail by a certain amount, it either gets nothing or a -1. Then the leading check guy adds those bonuses together and then makes it, and only that last person, only their result is treated as everyone. As everyone's check. They're the leader, they're directing the activity. It's a way to kind of let people contribute or not contribute based on their strength, and to kind of pile on resources to be like, if we're all going to succeed, why don't we succeed but really well? Instead of us all just succeeding, why don't we give our best guy like a +4 so he'll succeed extremely well? But anyways, the leading survival checks have an advantage. You find twice as much food and water as you normally would, or food as you normally would when foraging. You always know which way is north. Then you can move at a fast pace without reducing passive perception. Fighting style. You gain one of these. We'll go over fighting styles in another thing. You gain one of these fighting styles, which you will gain opportunities to advance. Then you get spellcasting at 2nd level, which is basically the same as the normal ranger spellcasting. Not a lot really changed there. It's the same basic spells. I seem to have included the equations on this one. I am not 100% consistent and never claimed to be. And then at 3rd level, you choose your archetype. You choose your subclass, and then you'll gain abilities for that at 4th, 8th, 12th, 16th, and 19th levels. Sorry, no, at 3rd, 7th, 11th, and 15th. My brain's getting itself crossed. The wires, the crossing. Ability score increase, 4, 8th, 12th, 16th, 19th, pretty basic. Extra attack, it's what it usually is at 5th level. Favorite target, 6th level. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can mark them as your favored target for 1 minute, allowing you to treat them as if they were one of your favorite enemies. You can only have one favorite target at a time, and marking new ones removes your previous mark, but you can use this feature a number of times per long rest equal to your prof bonus. So that's where my favorite enemies don't seem to be showing up, so I am going to decide that guy is my favorite enemy. Ability. So a few times per day you can hyper-focus on someone and be like, you! I'm getting you! Then Strider, 6th level, movement increases by 10 feet, ranges are fast. Look at Legolas go. Hunter's Critical. When you score a critical hit against any creature, you can roll your favor die and add the result. So even if you were already rolling it, your favor die now adds on to any critical damage you deal. Noting, it does not double, it is added once. You also score a critical on a 19 or 20. Quickened Hunt. When you reduce a creature to 0 hit points on your turn, you can immediately move up to your movement speed and make a weapon attack with advantage against another creature in range, which, by the way, Stick that on a multi-class rogue build and that would fuck. Anyways, you can move, you knock a creature down, you opportunistically rush up to another one, and you make another attack. You can use this feature a number of times for long rest equal to your favor bonus, and if you're like fighting a bunch of goblins and you keep taking them down one after another, you can just use them all in one turn if you want. You can be like, I'm gonna do this 4 times. Again, fighting style advancement. 10th level, you advance one of your fighting styles. Do they only get the 1? Hold on. Yeah, they only get the 1. So presumably whichever one they took before will go up by 1 level. If you wanted to go up further, you will need to use feats. There's a fighting style advancement feat that you will have to take. After that, Nature's Veil, 10th level. As a bonus action on your turn, you can become invisible along with any equipment you are carrying. You can do so, and then this remains until the start of your next turn. You can do this a number of times equal to your favor bonus per short or long rest. So when you get it, that's going to be something you can do twice per short or long rest. By the end of the game, it'll be 4 times. You can just be like, I'm invisible. And it's not the invisibility spell. You can still attack through it. So you can just be like, I am invisible. I'm getting advantage of my attacks. Here we go. Till the start of your next turn. Tempered Expectations. You gain that at the same time, I believe. Yep. 10th level pops off. Tempered Expectations. You devise method of combat that exploit an enemy's unfamiliarity with your tactics. During the first round of combat, you can treat all creatures as if they were your favorite enemy. So on the first turn of combat, on your first turn, everyone is your favorite enemy. And keeping in mind, you can also mark them if you want to keep them that way. And also you have advantage on initiative checks, so you're probably going to go pretty close to the start. But when combat enters, you immediately are like, they don't know what I can do. I'm going to exploit that. And everyone is a favorite enemy. Vanish. You can take the hide action as a bonus action. Additionally, you cannot be tracked by non-magical means, unless you choose to leave a trail. So that's just a fun late game. If I was playing, I would allow a ranger to extend that to their friends. To their party in general, if they took certain precautions. Thank you so much for the sub! Oh, Dueler, you're so close to dead. Why is that a stream boss? Why are you, Looks like it's sorta not all the way on the side there. Someone should kill Dueler. Don't clip that. So anyways. 17th level, Blind Sense. You have blind sight out to 30 feet, allowing you to see invisible creatures as if they are plainly visible, unless they have otherwise hidden themselves. You cannot be blinded or deafened. Now granted, depending on the subrace choices that you pick, you may have blind sight / blind sense by this point. That is just a consequence of your choices. In a modular world, sometimes you will invalidate later choices. Predictive Technique. You have advantage on saving throws made against the spells and abilities of your favorite enemies. So if you mark somebody, that counts for them too. And then finally, 20th level, Ultimate Eye. When you begin your first turn in combat, you can target up to 3 creatures you can see or are aware of with your favorite target feature automatically, costing only 1 use of it. And then, using your favorite target again does not remove those targets, and instead adds them to it. Dueler! Thanks, Dueler. Good job killing Dueler. So yeah, you when combat begins, you can use one use of favorite target immediately. Pick 3 people and be like, "You are my favorite enemies for 1 minute," and they stack with your other favorite target uses. Also, I should note, this applies to all uses of favorite target, including the ones afterwards. Basically, at that level, favorite target does not remove current targets from it, so you can just choose more people. You could pick Dueler as a favorite enemy, it's true. And then going into, with that, those are all the base features. By the end of it, you have 5th level spell slots of up to 2 of them. You have your +6. Favorite die goes up to +4. Favorite damage, your bonus die is up to a d12, and you know 11 spells by the end. And, before we get into the subclasses, I'm going to go ahead and see if we have any questions that would note answering. All right, so... Okay, so immediately, we talked about this one earlier. So we wanted to ask about the Dunestalker feature. When it crits, it can use its extra damage. Does that damage double? Let's check the text. Where are you, Doomstalker? Dunestalker. Dunestalker. All right. You should be up near the top. Yeah. Bursting Flames. When you score a critical hit against a creature with a weapon attack, you can use your Desert Flames feature automatically, not requiring you spend use of it. Desert Flames. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack on your turn, you channel magical energy through your weapon, ignite it, unleash a burst of flames. Separate from your weapon damage, the target also takes fire damage equal to a roll of your favor dies multiplied by twice your favor bonus. So, for example, if your favor die is a d12, you roll a d12 and it's multiplied by, like, the 4, so it's effectively a d12 times 4 at max level. That damage is separate from the critical hit. There's two things there. One, it outright says that it's separate from the weapon damage. And the second thing is that it is not adding dice to your damage. They take fire damage equal to... Yeah, so if it was meant to compound with your critical hit, it would say they take extra damage. Hold on. How do I put this? It would just say that they take extra fire damage as opposed to giving this kind of workaround way of describing it. But no, the main thing here is separate from the weapon damage, because critical hits only double weapon damage. So it hits, it procs this, and it does it. Now, this kind of comes back to my earlier do whatever you want to do at your table thing. Like, if I had a player and they were like, but I want that to be on my crits, can it be? I would probably be like, sure. I don't see the harm. But the text is there to prevent massive explosive hits if a player tries to sort of make a complex build that breaks that feature and tries to, like, make crits truly busted, and a GM wants to be able to point at that, then I want them to be able to and be like, we're going to follow that to the letter, but I'm going to give you the rest of what you've done. But if they just had this ability and they were like, can I add that to my... can I add that fire damage to it? Then I'd probably be like, yeah, do it. The fact that it says target also takes fire damage equal to is different than they take blank D blank fire damage. Generally, things that tell you a number is added as opposed to tell you dice are added are not adding to crits. Anyways, that is that question answered from earlier. It's widely understood that in 5th edition that the Ranger is quite lacking in terms of mechanics and overall effectiveness. What did you feel was necessary to add or change to the Ranger? Okay, so basically I answered this when we started. I didn't realize it, but whenever we started and I told you about, like, my philosophy about why we made the changes we did, I think I answered that question. Basically, it was the idea of I wanted them to feel like a slayer. I wanted them to feel like they point at someone. They're like, I'm hunting you. And they do extra damage. They're particularly good at them. I wanted the favored enemy feature to feel like it had a more visceral effect, which is what the bonus and die are. I wanted the tactile feeling of, I kill dragons. Here is my D12. Clack. There. It takes that too. I wanted all that to be part of the experience, because it felt like the Ranger wasn't doing anything extra, really. It wasn't very bumpy, mentally. It was pretty flat. All its bonuses felt kind of like nothing. You had to be a good role player to get enjoyment out of them. You can do that with anything. There's no reason why the class couldn't feel tactile and satisfying, and then let your good role-playing take it the extra mile, you know? So that's why I did that. I already answered that one. Who is the snow elf with the ice scythe? Oh, you're referring to her. That is the snow elf with the ice scythe. There she is. She appears in a few different places in the guide. Fun fact about a lot of the NPCs that are within this. I don't know if it'll ever come up in Nat 19, but a lot of the ones that are included multiple times It's because they are people that Lyra has met and adventured with or had dealings with over the course of her half-ish a decade of adventuring, I think, at this point. So a lot of NPCs are friends of hers. But not all of them. What is my favorite ranger subclass that I made? My favorite ranger subclass that I made. Let's pop back over to ranger. My favorite ranger subclass... It's probably the Beast Rider. Mostly because I kind of, with the same idea of I wanted to sort of fix the ranger, I really wanted to be like, the Beastmaster Ranger was never very satisfying. I wanted to create something that, again, gave you more to chew on. It made you feel more like you had an actual companion who could do more things, that was more direct to control, that felt weightier in combat, as opposed to sort of just having a generally useful, but you better hope you don't get them caught up in like a breath weapon, otherwise they're gone sort of companion. So it's them. Also, I love that art to death. I love this particular piece to death. So it's definitely the Beast Rider, which I'll even go over here in a second. Which of the Ranger subclasses in Favorite Soul slays the most? In terms of, not like slays, like in terms of slay. Well, it's definitely the Beast Rider. They definitely slay the hardest. I mean, we have some pretty good competitors, though. What up? What up, little man? Yeah, you're alright. I like you a lot, but you don't slay. No, it's definitely... You see her? Goth Haddisland lady. Goth Haddisland, heckin'... Oh my god. I cannot do internet culture. My brain keeps being like, do you want to say heckin'? You want to say mommy? You want to know what you want to say? You don't want to say that? Well, the energy's out there now. Heckin' Goth Haddisland mommy, slay. As for the Favorite Soul... Ignoring the cover art, because we will, it might be him. I'm gonna be real. Look at that. It's either them or... I mean, I do like the Tithys one a lot. Ilstrabe is also one of my favorite designs in the book, but that's not Ilstrabe, but Ilstrabe's Burden is one of my favorite designs in the book. I'm probably gonna say it's him. If you have a question about Ranger, then please submit it via the AMA stuff. Let's see. When does the actual PDF come out? Currently, I would snowball it as late October, because that we need to, very soon, like this month probably, or early next month, we're going to close off playtesting, and we're going to stop making alterations to the book unless they're absolutely necessary. After that, we are going to be focusing on finishing art asset placement, and then once that's done, it's all about getting all of our card decks and our GM screen and our slipcase and all those designs ready and sent off to the printer, and that's probably going to take a while. It's probably going to be a few months. Probably going to be... I mean, we haven't done this before, so I don't want to give any... I don't want to be unreasonably optimistic. It'll probably be sometime in 2025 when the actual books arrive. However, they will be available as print on demand from drive-through sooner. But the PDFs, once we get all the art assets in, that's it. We'll do a final review, and then they will go up there, and there will probably be a little period where people find things that we missed because there's a lot of text, and they'll probably send them to us, and we'll correct them there, and then hopefully we'll have all of that found by the time we send it off to our printers, New Titan. And inevitably, there's still going to be problems. But we'll take that as it comes. Oh. Question on Beast Rider. Joke question. Why do wyverns wander till level 11? More serious question on the subclass. Does the favored target for the Beastmasters sync? Or do you both need to hit the target to apply it? Or does one hit apply Does favored target? That is an excellent question. So basically, your beast companion for the beast rider, it shares your favorite enemies. So if something is your target, then anything it does also counts as that, and it shares your bonus. As per... Where's the text specifically? When it gains this feature, Snap Lock uses your proficiency bonus as well as your favorite die and whatnot in different places. So I don't have any text that directly pertains to that, but I would 100%, if somebody was playing a Beast Rider and the Beast Rider hit somebody and they wanted to be like, I'd like to use favorite target to designate them, I see no problem with that at all. I think that it's fair to consider the two of them kind of the same on that level of intentionality. So even though I don't think I wrote any text in, I absolutely think that you could count it as the ranger hitting them. Beastmaster Sync? Am I forgetting something? Beastmaster Sync. Right, benefits of the following apply to... Oh, yeah! Never mind. I did go over that in text. I'm silly. Favorite target for Beastmaster Sync, do you both need to hit the target? Oh, I misunderstood your question! I'm a silly little goose! Sorry. Do you both need to hit them? Favorite target, quick and hunt, nature's video. So, favorite target doesn't need to affect you both at once because it's your favorite enemies, no matter what you do. So if your beast companion hits it, I was sitting here being like, it's weird that I didn't write anything about this. If you hit it with your beastmaster, with your beast companion, it becomes your favorite enemy when you use favored target. So it applies to both of you retroactively. It doesn't become the companion's target, it becomes your target, and then it benefits from that. Actually, I'm gonna take a couple more questions, and I might just go over the Beast Rider, because let's see. Would you respec Flint with one of your new subclasses? Well, he was a druid. I gotta be real with you, I might have made him a ranger, and made like a snow-themed subclass for him. Probably not. Probably not in this book. Because there's nothing that really... Although maybe, because Guardians... I wasn't terribly satisfied with the Circle of Guardians. But none of these really fit him either. He's definitely not going to be a dinosaur. Not with these, but I might have made a different druid subclass for him if I'd had the wherewithal. Click. Okay, this question comes from my friend. Are old ranger subclasses intended to be used with the new ranger, or is it treated as something entirely different? So this text here. Several new subclasses are presented with this new iteration of the class, but a GM might review existing ranger subclasses and incorporate them into this version. Some things may need to be changed to make them work, but the subclass structure is left largely the same to accommodate old subclasses. So the answer is there. The answer is, kind of, subjectively. You will need to look them over. Would this version of the Ranger be compatible with subclasses from other third-party publishers? Same answer. Same answer, because it's the same question. We, vaguely, it's up to your GM. We obviously can't review other popular third-party content as it comes out and try to work with it, unless those teams reach out and want to work with us. So the general assumption is yes. Most of them should work because the Ranger, to my chagrin, didn't really have any core features that a lot of its subclasses really bounced off of that don't exist in this one. Like, it's not like we ripped out a Channel Divinity feature and replaced it with something else. All we did was kind of add new things on top of... We restructured and added new things, so it's not like with a fighter class, or it's not like if we redid the cleric and like a cleric subclass was like, you can use your Channel Divinity to do this. I'm slurring, sorry. You can use your channel divinity to do this. It's not like now there's a case where you'd look at it and be like, oh, well, there's no channel divinity anymore, so what do we do? Everything should still work because of how kind of mundane the base Ranger was. If you mix Ranger 5.9 and Logan's previous rifleman subclass, you're rolling in extra attacks. Keep in mind, extra attacks don't usually stack. That's why extra attacks say... Do you mean extra attacks as in just in general? If you mean the feature, the extra attack feature is written very specifically as to not stack with itself. But I'm sure there's some exploits you could make, but that's fine. I'd rather see the Ranger get busted than see it continue to be what it was. Oh, I see. Right, yes, agreed. So, why don't we go over a couple Ranger subclasses, and then I will wait for maybe a few more questions to come in, and then we'll wrap this week's stream up. So everybody think about questions. I'm going to go over the Beast Rider real quick, just because I think it's fun. So, Beast Rider. You gain a Beast Companion. It serves as a mount and an ally in combat. When you gain this feature, you can choose the description of your Beast Companion, but it must be a creature that you are capable of riding and follow the statistics of the Beast Rider Companion stat block provided below. This stat block uses your proficiency bonus, noted as PB, in several locations, as well as your favor bonus and favor die, FB and FD, respectively. The companion is friendly to you and your companions. Though it speaks no languages, it understands you. It shares your initiative count in combat, but always takes its turn right after yours. However, if you use your bonus action to have it take an action, it may take that action or movement resulting from it immediately, then takes its turn as if it had already done so. So that basically means you can use your bonus action and it uses it. So if you use your bonus action, you're like, attack. It will attack immediately, but then on its turn, it acts as if it already used its action to attack. It can move and use its own reaction, but the only action it takes if given no instructions is the dodge action. You can use your bonus action to command it to take another action, as just described. If you are incapacitated, it can take any action it is capable of, not just dodge, on its turn. So if you're incapacitated, it suddenly becomes more aware and more active in an attempt to protect you. So if you're incapacitated, suddenly your Beast Companion is like, I can attack. I'm in a frenzy. I'm gonna get you. If the beast is reduced to 0 hit points and isn't outright killed, it becomes stable immediately and regains 1 hit point in 10 minutes as long as you are within 60 feet of it. If you are not within range when 10 minutes passes, the beast vanishes. If it has vanished or has been killed outright, you can spend 1 minute reconjuring it, having it appear in the same in a space adjacent to you. Alternatively, you can reconjure it as an action by spending a spell slot of first level or higher. You can also reconjure it these ways if it becomes separated from you. If it becomes lost, you can be like, well, spell slot, come back. When you conjure your Beast Companion, you can choose if it is medium or large. As long as it is at least the same size category as you can ride it without issue. So, unlike normal mounted rules, it does not have to be bigger than you, it just has to be the same size. Bonus proficiencies. You gain proficiency, and you are proficient in riding and animal handling. And I'll just note the riding skill is a 5.19 thing, as I mentioned earlier, that gives you a bunch of extra options that allow you to, like, add your proficiency bonus to your mount's saves if they don't already have it and whatnot. So make sure you read up on that if you have the PDF. Beast improvement. You gain 2 of the following improvements permanently. This is at 7th level. You cannot select the same one twice. So 2 of these. The beast's movement speed increases by 10 feet. The beast gains a climb or swim speed equal to its base movement speed. Its natural attack damage increases to a d8. It starts out as a d6, I believe. Yep, d6 plus strength mod. The beast scores a critical hit on a d20 result of 19 or 20. 2 of its ability scores increase by 2. It gains the multi-attack action, which allows it to make 1 extra natural attack by taking it, so 2 natural attacks. Or it gains proficiency in perception and athletics. Beastmaster Sync, same level. We kind of went over this already, but for the purposes of Ranger features, the benefits of the following features apply to both you and your Beast Hunt Rider companion. Favored target, Quick and Hunt, Nature's Veil. affecting both of you at once if you are mounted, which basically only applies to Nature's Veil. Your own uses of limited features are expended for both of you. So when either of you uses any of those features, like uses of it, it takes it from you, but like it can turn invisible without you. If you're not on it, it can turn invisible, use Nature's Veil, vanish. Furthermore, when you cast a spell targeting yourself, you can also target the Beast Rider companion. So if you somehow learn haste, you can cast haste on both of you with the same haste. Double haste. And then it'll have that haste attack. Just a note. Greater Beast Improvement at level 11. The Beast gains 2 of the following improvements permanently, plus 1 unselected option from the Beast improvement feature. So you gain 1 of the previous ones from the list I gave just now. And you gain 2 from the following. If it has multi-attack, it can make 3 natural attacks instead of 1. 2 of its ability scores go up by 2. It gains a fly speed equal to its base movement speed. The Beast movement speed increases by 20 feet, that's in addition to the 10 from earlier if you took it. It gains expertise in a skill it is proficient in. It gains additional maximum hit points equal to your favor bonus for each of its hit dice, which for each of... I don't know if I actually wrote down about... That might be an oversight. For each of its hit dice. I might change that to each of your hit dice. I think that's what I meant whenever I wrote it. The Beast's armor class increases by 2. The Beast gains proficiency in 2 additional saving throws. Then, 15th level. The last one. Oh wait, hit dice. The Beast has hit dice d10s equal to the Master's Ranger level. Bam! I did account for it! Woo! Good job, me! Supreme Beast Improvement. It gains 2 final improvements permanently, plus 1 unselected from either of the 2 lists I just mentioned. As you can see, this modular style of building is something I'm a fan of being like, here's a list. You'll get to pick from it later again. Don't worry about it. But it gets 2 of the following in addition to 1 from the previous. You cannot select any of the same ones twice. The Beast adds your favor bonus to all attacks it makes. This is not added if it were already being added. 2 of the Beast's ability scores go up by 2 again. The Beast's movement speed increases by 30 feet. The Beast's natural attack damage increases from a D8, or to a D8, or if it was already a D8, to a D10, or it gains proficiency in 2 additional saving throws. So your whole thing is about speccing up this Beast Rider companion, and you can make it pretty wonky if you go certain directions. Its proficiency bonus goes up by equal to yours, but you add it to most of its things. Also, some qualities that the Beast Rider companion has just out the gate. All of its attacks are considered magical. It has hit points equal to your standard companion loadout. It's 5 plus 5 times your level, so it's 10 at level 1, plus 5 for each level, including the first. I'll say that better. It's 10 at level 1, 15 at level 2, 20 at level 3, etc. It starts out with 40 feet of movement. Its armor class is 13 at the beginning, which is 11 for natural armor, plus dex mod, plus your favor bonus. So as your favor bonus goes up, it gains more AC. It has dex and con as saving throws, and your favor bonus is added to all of its saves. And it has 60 feet of dark vision. Its passive perception is 12 plus your favor bonus. It has pack tactics, so if a creature is within 5 feet of it, that is an ally to, or if a creature is within 5 feet of what it's attacking, then it gains advantage, as long as they are allied to it. Let's see. Shared specialty, the Beast adds its Master's FB and FD to the same rolls their Master would. It has natural attack, which is a strength mod plus PB, 1 target, 5 feet, 1d6 plus strength mod, bludgeoning, piercing, or slashing. You choose based on the context of the creature. And it has another action called Ravage. If a creature within 5 feet of the Beast is prone, they can attempt to maul it. The Beast makes a natural attack against them, and on a hit deals an extra number of damage dice equal to the Master's favor bonus. So if your favor bonus is plus 4, If it goes to attack them, it uses Maul. It goes in for an attack. It hits them. Instead of doing their 1d6 plus strength mod, it will do, if it's a +4 favor bonus, 5d6 plus strength mod, which may not be worth as much as if it had like 3 attacks and went all in. No, it would be more. It'd be more. I think it's always more. But yeah, that's them. Then there's a list of considerations for how their stuff is calculated here. I'll go over one more subclass, then answer some questions, and then I am done. But before that, water. Oh yeah, that's a typo. I'll fix that. All right. Dunestalker. Since this was brought up earlier, Dunestalkers are a wandering the desert, sort of Grey Rockian take on the Ranger. They're your Tatooine Rangers. 3rd level, Assassin of the Sands. If they weren't already, all humanoids are one of your favorite enemies. So yes, they do immediately decide that if you are humanoid, favorite enemy. You are resistant to fire damage. You have advantage on saves made to resist the negative effects of high temperature environments. You also, at 3rd level, get Tactical Ambush. A number of times per short or long rest equal to your favor bonus, you can take either the hide or disengage action as a bonus action. When you take the hide action this way, you can hide when only lightly obscured. Desert Flame, 7th level. We talked about this one earlier. When you hit a creature with a weapon attack, you can choose to roll an additional number of your favor die multiplied by twice your favor bonus, and you do extra fire damage equal to that. You can do that a number of times per short or long rest equal to half your proficiency bonus, rounded up. By the way, in the guide, in case it's ever called into question, as is the general versus specific rule, if anything ever says to half and doesn't say rounded up or rounded down, it's always rounded down. If it doesn't say up, it is down. Some stuff clarifies down, because that's what I wrote while I was going through it, but if it doesn't say it, it's down. That is the general rule. Stealth Skirmisher, also 7th level. You're an expert in making attacks from being hidden, allowing you to capitalize on the moment. When you take the attack action well hidden, you can treat all creatures you attack as though they were your favorite enemy. So if you attack from hiding, whatever you hit is a favorite enemy. And those attacks, and all attacks made against your initial target have advantage as if you were hidden. So if you attack 3 times, and you started out hidden, and you target the same creature all 3 times, all 3 attacks have advantage. And finally, extra attack improvement at 11th level. Well, not finally. You get to attack twice, or you can attack 3 times instead of twice. They actually get that a little bit quicker than a lot of other classes. Bursting Flames, 15th level. We talked about this one earlier too. When you score a critical hit against a creature on a weapon attack, you can use your Desert Flames feature automatically, not requiring you to spend a use of it. But there's also the Grey Arrow, which is an anti-magic subclass. There's the Gun Dweller, a firearm-specific one. Desmond is this one, which gives a bunch of options for making guns more efficient. The Radiant Archer, which is a celestial archer who can do a bunch of more celestial-oriented abilities. The Sea Dog, which is basically meant to be a pirate. It's, you want to be a Ranger Jack Sparrow? Get in there. And then the Technoscope, which was made for Clover in our game. They are a highly modular, making gadgets and gizmos to do a bunch of things one. They're definitely a, for the more bookkeepy sort of players that are out there, because they have a lot of options that you've got to keep in mind. They have a lot of text. And then we have their expanded spell list. And I think I'm going to go ahead and answer some more questions from the chat, and then this will be the end of this. Favorite Ranger subclass so far that I want to see in play. At my private table, with some of my local friends, I am getting to see the Beast Hunter, the Beast Rider in action. Ariel, the woman who plays Saber in our Fate stuff, she's playing one of them. So I kind of want to say that, though, because I'd love to see someone in Nat 19 also play one to see how they roll within a VTT. Beyond that, Radiant Archer probably, because I think it'd be a cool angle. I'd like to see what someone builds for that, like, character-wise. Imagine a Hattislin Radiant Archer. Could you imagine? Can you imagine that? Contradictory. Any plans in the future for class-specific feats like the Petal Knight has? No plans, but if ideas strike, then I'd love to do them. I'm more into race-specific feats than class-specific, because usually when you have a class-specific feat idea, it kind of actually should just be a subclass feature. But I'm open to the idea. Given the 2 levels in Rogue gives you cunning action, how worthwhile is it to multi-class in your opinion for a fine Stalker Ranger, given the limited uses of being able to bonus action hide with tactical ambush combined with the stealth skirmisher feature? It's useful. It's worthwhile. I mean, you're describing the bonus action hide. You're kind of invalidating tactical ambush, kind of, but not really, because you get the lightly obscured out of it. Then you get there, and then you have... I mean, it's good. It probably won't pop off super hard as much as you think it is. I think if you got Hunter's Critical as well, which I think you also get by that level. I'm going to remind myself. Hunter's Critical, yeah. No, I think that getting to, like... If you get to level 7 as a Ranger, a Dunestalker Ranger, and then anything from Rogue, your increased critical range mixed with the fact that you can hide whenever you want, mixed with the fact that your attacks from being hidden all have advantage, are good. If you can get extra attack out of it somewhere and get attack, bonus action, attack. Or I guess you wouldn't have bonus action, but attack. No, you probably would. You could. If you can get... I'm trying to think in my mind what the best balance for this is. If you could get to 11th level Ranger to get the extra attack improvement, to get the 3 attacks plus a possible bonus, and then also have rogue features to back it up and sneak attack damage to add on top of it, so that if you get a crit, you can add in your sneak attack damage and then also add in your Desert Flames because you're getting advantage on so many attacks, that would be a really good build. That would be a lot of damage. That would probably, though, be one of those cases that I talked about where I'd be like, we're not going to put the Desert Flames damage. We're not going to double it. Because, that's one of those cases where I'm like, your whole character concept is fishing for that crit damage. I would want to encourage you to have other modes of play as well, as opposed to just that exclusively. Because that's one thing I never want to lock anybody into at the table. When I grant things, usually my main concern is making sure people aren't locking themselves into, I do this one thing you've let me do forever. Because you want to keep people thinking. I think it's really important that your features encourage people to find situations, not just to produce them mechanically. But yeah, I think that there's a pretty high damage yield build that could possibly build off that. Are there any classes you're chomping at the bit to make a modular subclass for? All of them! Except Druid! Because Druid subclasses are wonky. Because you think that you want to build everything around their beast, heckin' their wild shape, but then you have to deal with the fact that if they ever get to level 20, they're gonna get infinite wild shapes, and then you broke whatever you gave them, because almost everything becomes insane. Like the Spore Druid, who gets to level 20, and they're like, I'm just gonna heal forever, I'm just gonna temporary hit points forever, if that's cool. But I mean all of them, because I like giving people choices. Sometimes a subclass suffers from being modular, because sometimes you want it to be pointed, to make it very clear like you want to do this thing. I love players, but sometimes you give players like a thing that could be cool, and they're concerned with what they want to do immediately and not the long game. So sometimes you can make a really cool thing that has the potential to do really neat things, and then the modularity betrays it by not making it obvious what path you should go down. In those cases, I find it's best to be like, okay, well, I want to make this subclass to do this thing. I want there to be no question, it does this thing. I mean, yes, Kitsu, that's true, but it's also... It would be a disingenuous thing for someone to be like, well, I don't care about level 20 at all. Because, like, depending on what you do with the Druid, you can just straight up turn off the game if you accidentally give a Druid something that's too powerful, if it has infinite uses. There is a limit to the tier 4 is whatever thing. There still needs to be a point where stuff stops working, so there's a game. But if you give a druid, like, yeah, no, fucking, you can use one of your wild shapes to regain 20 hit points. What you've just done at level 20, to be fair, at level 20 you're not really having sparse encounters, but what you've just done is told the druid that the party will be at maximum hit points all the time between all encounters. That there is no situation where they don't stop and go, okay guys, I'm gonna come over and give everyone the life hug. Everyone's back to maximum. So they're particular. Same with barbarians, where if you give them something that their rage does, you have to deal with the fact that they have unlimited rages. I'm pretty sure they have unlimited rages, don't they? At level 20? I think they do. Or is it 6? I can't quite remember. But anyways, that's a digression. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff I want to make. One thing I really want to make that I've been sort of chomping at the bit to do is individual, I don't have a name for them yet, but like focus classes, where it's not just a subclass, it's I make a class that is the specific idea that is kind of a fighter, but not really, and it doesn't have subclasses. It has a linear progression with a couple modular options maybe, straight up to 20 or up to 10 or whatnot, and they function kind of like prestige classes used to, which is what subclasses replaced in 3.5. I want to make some that are like, this is a clear progression from 1 to 10. It has its own features. It basically gives you this kit. Do this, and you can take that, and it's its own thing that is not a subclass. It's just a heavily stacked specific class. But I mean, you could Kitsu. But if you're putting that note on everything, then you should just design better. That note is an admission of a lack of ability to rein in what you're doing. Sometimes you gotta do it. But if you're doing it all the time, that is an admission of defeat. And I am more creative than that. I can beat the druid. I'll beat him. The druid the druid is actually something that someday I might want to look at giving the 5.9 treatment, but the problem is the druid does function really well, for the most part, I find. I think any changes I would make would be personal ones. Crafting classes? Well, that's a cool idea. That's not what I was talking about wanting to do, though. Like, I have a solid desire to make these focus classes. I also, I know there's crowds out there that like crafting options. I don't necessarily think I'm the best person to cater to them, because I'm definitely one of those people that likes the adventure aspects of it. And I find when people introduce crafting systems into games, especially because I kind of make things for stream games, like I kind of have that mentality in mind of like, there's that fire under you. You're on stage. Go. I think crafting classes tend to, like the Artificer, it's one of the things I don't like about them, they slow games down and make game kind of about one person clarifying rules for a really long time. And I'm not the biggest fan of them. But that's a personal preference, and maybe someday I'll get over it. But, yeah, that's the thing I want to do. I want to make, like, specific, like, this is the idea. It doesn't have subclasses per se, it just has a couple modular options. It's meant to do a very specific thing, maybe even with a very specific weapon. But I've never found an idea within that framework that has really compelled me, so I've never done it. But I digress, that is the end of our questions. So, I think that, that is the end of today's stream. There's more to be found. There's more burdens. There's more archetypes. But I will leave the rest for people to discover on their own. Next week, I think maybe it would be worth doing this with the Sword Saint and the Inscriptor, if I come back in next week. So that we can kind of... And maybe the Pedal Knight, if we have time. People are more familiar with all those, so it might be a bit easier. And then maybe we'll do building races. I don't know, I'll think about it all week. And then we'll come back into it. In the meantime, keep your eyes on the Kickstarters. There's not going to be any more playtest material because you guys got the books. There is nothing else I could give you. I will also note, though, that if you are just from the Kickstarter, I have already sort of settled on a theme for what the next project we're going to be doing after this is, and it's going to build on space-themed content and on DGRs and other frame units. It's going to be somewhat of a nod toward the Spelljammery sort of content, and I'm excited to put that together, and, you know, in the year or whatnot that we're ready to move forward with that once this project's done, we've already got a really strong foot in on pushing more of that forward. And it won't be just that, but it'll be a lot of that. That's why not all the DGRs are in the book. Also, do you guys want to see something cool? Hold on. Oh, I assume it's in here. Art we just got back today. Check it out. Navaratna. Navaratna is currently competing with Rangan Miad to be maybe my favorite DGR design. But I digress. I think we're going to stop there. I'm going to end the recording, and then maybe we'll send you guys off to them. So anyways, this will go up on YouTube. If you guys want to get in on more of this, make sure you stop by our streams. On Saturdays, we stream Gilligan's Grave, a necromancy cult underground themed game that is within the Somnus Dominus setting. On Mondays, I hope to do more of this, and I hope in the future to see more of you, talk to more of you, and I've had a blast going over content in the book. So, see you around!